En el nombre del Padre, y del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
And happy first day of Pride Month. Can you tell it's Pride Month? Did I overdo it?
No.
And I promise you it's not going to rain Skittles. And so I am going to start off today's sermon by going back into my roots as a preschool teacher. So we're going to have a little bit of a story time. And I'm going to read to you this short story. It's called The Prayer That's Who Searched for God. And this is written by Andrew Newman. Once upon a time, there was a prayer who went searching for God. She left the heart that yearned her into being, jumped onto a breath that left the lips that spoke her into being. Out and away she flew, searching for God. She had heard that the heavens were high above the skies, so she flew there first. In the blink of an eye, she passed the clouds and past the moon and past the stars, but she couldn't find God. She remembered the sacred places where people prayed to God, so she turned the breath to visit them. She flew over the domes and the spires, weaving through the rooftops. She still could not find God. She asked the breath to turn again. This time she flew through the seas and the soils, searching the earth. Still, she could not find God. The breath paused. It couldn't go any further. It's time to return home. The prayer clung tight as the breath rushed home, past the seas and the soils, past the sacred places, past the stars, past the moon, and past the clouds, back through the lips that spoke her into being. Right there in the narrow passage of the lips, where the breath rushed the fastest, tickling the tongue, there she found God. Quietly whispering, I am everywhere. I love this story because it goes so well for me with today's gospel readings. And so recently, I have been seeing articles pop up on my home screen of my computer regarding the declining of church attendance and questioning the future of the Christian church in the United States. Headlines read, church attendance continues to decline in America. Lowest church attendance ever seen with Gen Z. Church leaders struggle to keep church doors open as church attendance continues to decline in America. Churches are facing extinction as church attendance drops at an all-time low. I see, I got a co-preacher. I love it. Declining memberships force a church pastor to close the doors for good. A 2023 Gallup poll shows that 30% of adults in the United States that attend religious services are down 42% from 2 decades ago, and they're expected to continue to decline with the younger generations. Between 2013 and 2023, U.S. church attendance attended by adults identified as Protestant dropped by 4 points, and those identified as Roman Catholic by 12 points. Looking around our community, we cannot ignore the fact that churches are forced to close their doors for good. Father Justin just recently reminded us about that within our own denomination, seeing several churches closing in the East Bay. And on just about any given Sunday, we can find more and more people having brunch at a restaurant than we would in the church on Sundays. For many Christians in the US who love their faith tradition, this is a very scary reality. People are fearing losing the Sunday place of tradition and socialization. Many religious leaders are finding themselves looking for employment outside of the church to supplement incomes and reducing service hours to lessen the financial burden on churches. This fear has sent church folks scrambling to figure out how to save their favorite Sunday tradition, the Sunday tradition of their youth. As I continue to give thought to these articles and discuss it with some folks who either do or don't attend church, I wonder what a United States without churches would look like. I ask myself, what if the church is living in the days of Noah? What if it's God's will to do away with churches? What if the church institution needs to die so that the church of Christ can resurrect? Today's gospel reading is a beauty. It's the one passage in the gospel accounts of John that made me fall in love with Jesus for the very first time. It was while I was experiencing what San Juan de la Cruz called Noches Oscuras del Alma, or dark nights of the soul. I had recently joined a Pentecostal Apostolic Holy Church of God and was undergoing their version of conversion therapy. I could not engage in anything worldly like television, movies, music, dancing, and reading unless it was church related. Holiness Christian related. Not the wishy-washy, sugar-coated fake Christian stuff as they called it, but true holiness. I could not hang out with folks who weren't saved out of fear that the devil would tempt me and cause me to backslide. I was forced to fast 1 week a month, no food or water whatsoever for 7 days to starve the gay demon out of me. I spent my evenings praying and reading scriptures, not experiencing the liberation from the gay demons. I started to begin that God hated me, that God had purposefully created me for the sheer pleasure of torturing me and sending me to hell. And so one night I read today's gospel reading, and that night, for the very first time in my walk with Jesus, I saw the Word. I saw the Word, and the Word was love. God in Jesus, Jesus in God, God in the Spirit in Jesus, the Spirit in me, Jesus in me, which meant that God was also in me, and I was in God. God did not hate me. God loved me. We are one. And what a revelation it was. That night was liberating, and it wasn't in the way that the church had expected it. I was free from fear, from guilt, and from shame. God was not at all disgusted with me, and I was never separated from God. For God was with me, has always been with me, and will forever be with me just as I was. I proudly refer to this day as Independence Day. It marked my exodus from the world of toxic Christianity that placed God so far out of reach for everyone except the very elite. The toxicity of keeping people away from God, making them vulnerable and isolated. I was free from it all, vowing never to return again. Now, for a while in my life, like so many other Christians around the world, I took this passage to mean that Christianity was about individuality, that it was a relationship strictly between just me and God through Christ, a very selfish interpretation of the teachings of Jesus that kept Christ in the confines of my own needs while trying to encourage others to do the same for themselves, because we are each individually one in God. Then there were my encounters with with closed off churches that interpreted oneness to be exclusive to their church doctrine. Theologies that control proximity to God using their very own standards, determining who actually is one with Christ, almost one with Christ, and nowhere close to being one with Christ. And unfortunately, this is what most of Christianity has become in the US and in other parts of the world. This is one of the main reasons church attendance is declining at such a fast rate. In the age of information, folks are being able to read and to research. They're listening, and what is preached and what is being done are not matching up. Folks are not sure where they stand with Christianity or just frustrated altogether. We are, as I mentioned this morning, we are in Pride Month. And nothing says Christian love like protesters at a Pride event representing the almighty, the all-loving, the all-inclusive Christ by shouting messages of hate and segregation. And so I have two sayings I like in life. I hold tight to them. One of my sayings, as I always tell my son, is, an apology without change is simply manipulation. And then my second saying, it kind of applies to what I've just been talking about. That worship that doesn't lead to discipleship is blasphemy. And I'll say it again. Worship that does not lead to discipleship is blasphemy. But the good news is that today's gospel reading tells us that Jesus prayed. Jesus prayed for me. He prayed for you. He prayed for us and for the future generations. He prayed, I ask not on behalf of these, not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of all who will believe in me through their words, that they may all be one. As you, Father, are in me, I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. God sent love in Jesus, that they may become completely one, so that the world may know that you have sent me and you have loved them, even as you have loved me. He prayed this without adding any conditions. Isn't that beautiful? Every last one of us, regardless of age, color, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, income, we're all one. He left us a model of what oneness is. And in doing so, he gave us a glimpse into the mystery that we call the Trinity. God, the Creator, God, the created, united by God, the Spirit, as one. You see, I don't believe that Jesus came to start an institution or a religion, but instead to restore our humanity to how we were created to be, how we were created to live in community with them and with each other. One beloved global community in love of Christ. We here at this church, we have the privilege to behold that model of community each Sunday in the Eucharist. We believe that the bread and the wine transform into the body and blood of Christ. We eat it, we drink it, we reverence it. Christ is in me in the sacrament. Christ is in you in the sacrament. Christ is in us in sacrament. The same body and blood in each of us, making us one in Christ, worthy of the same reverence that we give to the Eucharist, all dwelling in us. My beloveds, I believe that this prayer of Jesus is a call to us to answer. Honestly speaking, Western Church has crucified the Church of Christ and replaced it with the Christian Church. God is calling us to resurrect the Church of Christ in community and in love. God is calling us to resurrect the Church of Christ. I guess I'm repeating it for a reason. In community and in love. And so, my beloveds, where hate and deception and exclusivity are crying loud, the unified love of Christ must be louder in us. That these church building doors will remain open, not to house an institution, but a beloved community in Christ in love. My dear saints, we are living in a devastating time where we're in our nation where conservative Christianity and Christian nationalism are wreaking havoc and harm across the United States and the world. Kind of like what we read what was in Revelations today was, the Spirit is calling us, and it's time for us to get loud with love.